Hi, 8th grade, it's Miss Dodd. Today we're going to go through the last 5 questions from Benchmark 2 that people missed the most. So please turn to your independent station packet at the back of Social Studies today. And we're going to go through these, and just like yesterday, you're going to write the complete answer down. Do not just write the letter choice. If you're writing the entire answer, you are more likely to remember. All of these are questions you will see on the next benchmark, since it will be cumulative of everything we've done since July. So please do your best to focus so that you can get these answers right. All right, question 1. The Acadians who migrated to Louisiana after the French and Indian War did so, A, to escape the new government in Canada, B, to unify the French colony of Louisiana with Canada, C, to escape religious persecution, or D, to take advantage of land giveaway policies. All right, the biggest distractor that people picked was to escape religious persecution. That is not correct. I think people picked that because they remember that the Acadians left because of a push factor, but that religious persecution wasn't the right push factor. Okay. B, we never really talked about that. They didn't want to unify the two colonies like that. They were actually leaving because of a push factor. They came to Louisiana because they spoke French and they knew the language, but not because they really were hoping to create a global French colony. All right, so really the answer here is A, to escape the new government in Canada. The new government was the British government. So please remember, the Acadians fled. It was a push factor. They left because they were fleeing the British. All right. Number 2, Africans were taken to Louisiana during the colonial period for the purpose of what? This one's a little bit confusing because you need to know a little bit about why were Africans from the continent of Africa coming to Louisiana. Think about it. A lot of people did A, cultural diffusion. I think that's the easy answer, but why would someone be brought to a place just so that they could spread their culture? Cultural diffusion kind of happens as a result. So that's not the right answer. Expanding the agricultural economy of the colony. Well, we know Africans were used as slaves, and this might be a fancy way to talk about slavery. Let's hold on to that one. Protecting them from the bloody wars raging in Africa. Well, have we ever talked about wars in Africa so far in 8th grade? No. So you can safely say that's not the right answer. And then they were taken to establish the Louisiana Creoles as the social leaders of the colony. That sounds like a fancy answer, but it's not right because we've never talked about that. So the answer is expanding the agricultural economy of the colony. And go ahead and put right here next to your answer as you write it down in your packet, slavery. That's just fancy code for slavery. Africans were brought to Louisiana to be slaves. Okay. Next question. It broke my heart that people didn't get this question right. We shaded this question so many times. Which ethnic group settled here? It was not the Native Indians. For people that picked Native Indians, I don't know why you did that. They were everywhere. They were all over Louisiana. It wasn't the Spanish. It wasn't the Creoles. It was the Acadians, okay? The thing you need to know about the Acadians, they were pushed out by the British from Canada, and they settled in southern Louisiana, okay? Acadiana, Cajun country. Please write Acadians in your packet. All right. Question number 4. This one was tricky. I think all of the ones that were reading based were very tricky for us. All right. Oops. The people who are sent to Louisiana are miserable wretches, driven from France for real or supposed crimes or bad conduct, or persons who want to leave in order to avoid the pursuit of their creditors. All regard the country as a place of exile. Everything disheartens them. Nothing interests them in the progress of a colony of which they are only members in spite of themselves, okay? Think about having a heart, and being disheartened means you don't have a heart, or your heart is not in it, okay? So disheartened means your heart is not in being in the colony. But we're looking at the main idea of this passage. A, English colonies in America were populated faster than French colonies. Does this passage talk about English colonies at all? No. So we can immediately cross that one off. That one doesn't make sense. B, Louisiana in the 1700s was a difficult place to live. Well, that is true. We will come back to that. C, the French government advertised Louisiana as a paradise where wealth was everywhere. Well, it looks like we're talking more about the people who are sent to Louisiana than really the methods used to attract them. So we can rule that one out safely. And D, many of the early settlers in Louisiana came there because of push factors. So let's see, where does it say that people were pushed out? Well, here it says that they were driven from France and they wanted to leave to avoid the pursuit of their creditors, okay? So they were basically owed a lot of money, and that was pushing them out. So D looks right. B doesn't really talk much about the way in which life was in Louisiana. It talks more about reasons people left the colony. Reasons people left France for the colony. So B doesn't really make sense. D is the one that best communicates that entire passage because they were driven from their homes and they were leaving because they were avoiding their creditors, the people that they owed money to. Okay? So really, I want you to see the way in which I got that answer. I went right into the text to look for the words showing me where the push factor would be. All right, final question. Before the French came among us, we were men content with what we had. Another Natchez chief believed that trading with the French meant that his people had to set aside part of our corn, our game, and fish and give a part to them. Okay. These quotes suggest all of the following except, okay? So we're looking at what is really not the right answer here. So remember, when we have this word except, I want you to think that you're looking for the answer that is false. What is the answer that is not true? Okay, so based upon these two passages, we have Natchez chiefs talking about the French. Contact between the French and Natchez Indians was common. Well, if they're talking about each other, then it sounds like they come in contact quite a bit. It says the French came among us. So we're looking for the one that's false because this is suggested by the passage. All right, what else? The French were not as successful as the Natchez Indians in feeding themselves. Well, it does say here that the Indians had to give part of the corn to the French, which might suggest that the French needed food. Let's hold on to that one. Choice C, the Natchez Indians learned to want the metal tools and weapons which the French possessed. Okay? So it said, before the French came among us, we were men content with what we had. That might suggest that they want the metal tools and weapons, but they're not talking directly about metal tools and weapons. So that might be the false answer. Finally, this one is easy to rule out because clearly it was a very tense relationship. The one that makes the most sense as the answer choice, though, is answer choice C.